Mandalorian armor is an essential point in Mandalorian culture and a key plot device in the new Mandalorian series. But what is the significance and history of this armor? And why is it prized so much in the galaxy? Now, Mandalorians are something that's changed a lot in terms of canon post the release of The Mandalorian and other series over the past few years. For example, the Fets are no longer actually Mandalorian warriors. Despite all these changes, this new history and culture that's emerged is still pretty interesting, and it really seems to revolve around combat and honor as it did originally, but also their armor plays an incredibly big role. Also, we are going to be keeping this relatively spoiler-free for the Mandalorian series, as I know a lot of you are still waiting to see it. So without any further ado, let's continue. So, the original Mandalorian armor was called Crusader Armor. The key point of this was the helmet, which was worn over a cloak, and this was a status symbol amongst Mandalorians, as it tells us that they haven't been defeated in combat. It's likely that the Mandalorians' early armor during their first crusades was made from Beskar, or Mandalorian Iron as it's also known. This is a very strong and rare material that the Mandalorians have mastered the art of forging. This stuff was so powerful it could deflect blasters, extreme heat, and even slash marks from a lightsaber. It probably would succumb to a direct stab, however, but it's still incredibly impressive. There's not many materials that could resist that much damage. This is probably why the Crusaders were amongst the first and only people in the galaxy capable of fighting the Jedi, and they did this for a very long time. This is also likely where their armor underwent a change to the typical kind that we're more familiar with, particularly with the use of jetpacks and wrist tools that contain numerous things such as flamethrowers, rocket launchers, lasers, darts, and whips. The Mandalorians essentially began making their armor far more offensive, and this was most probably in response to fighting the Jedi, who were really still a big threat, and a very worthy challenge. Actually, a lot of the Mandalorians' combat style comes and was designed by and around fighting Jedi. Now, it's important to understand that eventually Durasteel Armor became a variant in the Mandalorians' arsenal. This was significantly inferior to Beskar, however still very strong. It's possible that this happened during moments of extreme conflict, where there wasn't enough Beskar to go around, and much of it was lost on fallen soldiers. Now, we do know that eventually the Mandalorians stop their aggressive ways and become pacifists, leading to the Death Watch terrorizing the world, and Maul and Pre Vizsla eventually taking power, eventually leading to the Mandalorian Civil War between the Death Watch and other Mandalorian factions and the Republic. Who was using what type of armor, either Durasteel or Beskar in this time, is hard to say. It was likely a mix-up between Durasteel and Beskar parts, with high-ranking warriors making more Beskar armor, and the lower ranks using Durasteel, similarly to Jango Fett's armor. Now, eventually, peace was brought to the world under the new Empire, and Gar Saxon was made the Viceroy of the world. However, this is possibly the saddest chapter in Mandalorian culture. Without being able to unite the Mandalorian clans, and knowing he could not win a war against them, he developed Sabine Wren's weapon, the Duchess, which was capable of superheating Beskar. This essentially incinerated the wearer of any Beskar armor. This resulted in the deaths of countless Mandalorian warriors until it was eventually destroyed by Sabine herself. This is where it leaves us by the time of The Mandalorian. It's set post the fall of the Empire. By this point, the Mandalorians are left without much of their prized metal. Most of it will have been salvaged and reforged by the Imperials post their purge. This leaves the Mandalorians without their incredibly powerful armor, wearing a mismatch of Durasteel and whatever else they could find. This was something that had been so culturally significant to them over a millennia. Not only this, but many sets of Beskar armor were actually ancient due to its durability, and passed down from generation to generation. So the Imperials melting it down and using it as a bargaining chip was naturally incredibly hurtful to the Mandalorians, who see this as a very integral part of their history and their culture. But what do you guys think of Beskar and Mandalorian armor as a whole? And what do you think the Imperials did with all of the Beskar that they stole? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, and sub if you did enjoy, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @TheLoreGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.